So to me, one of the major selling points for residency training in the UK is the fact that they have a very robust structure for resident doctors who will require less working hours because of either caring responsibilities or other academic and professional commitments. And that's why I'm going to be talking about less than full-time training in this video. I've gotten a few questions about this, what it entails, how the application process is, what the pros and cons are. So if it's something you're considering or you're just curious about, this is the video for you. So stick around, like the video, subscribe if you have not. And if you got any questions during the course of the video or afterwards, don't hesitate to leave them in the comment section. So let's get straight into it. So less than full-time training, like the name implies, allows trainees or resident doctors to work at reduced hours compared to full-time training. So they usually work at a percentage of the full-time rota. So it could be 50, 60, 70, or 80%. And this is available across most specialties, within most deaneries all over the UK, but it requires an application and approval process. So without wasting too much time, let's just jump straight into some of the pros and the cons. So with regards to the advantages, number one, if you're juggling parenting or caring for an unwell relative or spouse, or you've got other professional or academic commitments, it helps to provide kind of balance for you to be able to cater to your training needs while attending to these other pressing life issues. Some people might actually have medical issues or mental health problems that might not be able to make them cope with the full-time rota. So if this is something that you are considering, it's always worth submitting an application to see if you would be approved for less than full-time training, as this might just be what you will need to give you some breathing space and prevent you from burning out. As we all know, residency can be quite tasking, and in itself, no matter the specialty you're undergoing training in, it demands from you so many hours of your day, the greater proportion of your day, the greater proportion of your thoughts, of your physical energy. And if you've got other pressing life issues, it might be something that will be of great benefit to you. So many trainees undergoing less than full-time training use the extra time to pursue other interests. So for example, many residency trainees alongside their residency program are also involved in research or academic work, master's degrees, PhDs, and less than full-time training affords you the ability to be able to balance it out, to be able to combine the tedious demands of residency training with the equally or even more equally tedious demands of whatever academic pursuit you're currently undertaking. So it helps a lot of trainees to be able to prepare for their exams, write their papers, get involved in the other interests that they have without depriving themselves of the training needs that are associated with their residency program. Another very important advantage, one that we cannot take for granted, is the fact that it has a positive impact on mental well-being. So if you've got challenges with your mental health, the reduced rota hours can greatly help, as stress is naturally known to aggravate mental health problems or even trigger new ones. So that balance is very, very essential and can generally lead to an overall improvement in your well-being. So a lot of people are in training, and sometimes the tediousness and the increasing demands and stress associated with residency training can make some trainees to just either quit completely or take a break that might have a significant impact in how they progress in their career. And for people in that position, considering less than full-time training might be beneficial because it helps you to progress in a way that is both flexible but consistent. So you don't have long periods of breaks or periods where you just considered leaving the program altogether when all you needed was just probably like lesser working hours because of the burden of the work. And of course, not everyone will consider this a priority, but if you feel like it's something that will make a difference in your training experience and in the way you cope mentally with the entire training journey, then it might be something worth considering. So now that we've heard of some of the advantages, let's look at some of the cons or some of the drawbacks with regards to less than full-time training before you take that leap. So number one, which is a very obvious one, is the fact that you will definitely have a longer training time. So depending on the percentage of less than full-time training you decide to embark on, the smaller the percentage, the longer your training time will be. So for example, if you're 50% less than full-time, your training time will be doubled. So if, for example, you're doing GP training, it's supposed to be 3 years if you're working full-time, and you choose to go 50%, you end up spending 6 years in training. If you choose to go 80%, your training time will be prolonged by 1.25 times the 3-year duration. So you end up spending 3 years and 9 months if you choose to go 80% throughout the entire course of your training. Of course, if you choose to go 80% in your 3rd year of training, definitely your total duration of time will not be that long. It will not be as long as 3 years and 9 months. There's a way it's all calculated. So all I'm trying to say is that your training time will definitely be extended. So it's good to keep this in mind, and for the sake of planning and preparation and all your consultancy training. The second most obvious disadvantage is your salary. So definitely your pay will be lower than if we're working full-time. Of course, you're working less hours, so it only makes sense for your pay to be less. But the impact of your pay as a less than full-time trainee could even be worse, because most of the time, the number of unsocial hours you'll be working will also be prorated, meaning if we're supposed to work 80% or 60% less than full-time, even your on-call shifts or your on-call hours will also be 60%. And as we all know, unsocial hours are hours you get paid more compared to your normal 9 to 5 weekday hours. So you would have less opportunities for enhancements and definitely significantly less pay. So it's something you should be aware of and think about. Thirdly, the rota and departmental challenges. Some rota coordinators or some departments, some trusts may not be very familiar with the less than full-time scheme, and it might be a bit challenging for the rota masters to be able to coordinate your hours in a way that fits into the exact percentage that you have signed up for. And there might be a lot of back and forth with regards to the hours you're supposed to be working, salary issues, and all those challenges. So it's something that you should keep an eye out for. Thankfully, the program is getting more and more robust in most deaneries all over the UK. So a lot of rota coordinators are more aware of it. A lot of departments are aware of it. So they are better able to arrange your rota in such a way that it ensures that you are treated fairly and your schedules are approved in a timely manner. Fourthly, the fact that your bonding with your team members may not be as great as your full-time trainees, right? So the fact that that continuity is lacking means that you don't get to build as good of a rapport with your team members as easily as a full-time trainee would have been able to do. So that lack of continuity really impacts on how integrated or how quickly you get integrated into the team and how well you flow with the different members of the team and the department. And it's just something you should keep an eye out for, so that you know that whatever time you spend in the hospital or at your practice, you make the most of it, establish key relationships, good rapport, good communication with your team members, and just ensure that you don't miss out on so much with the limited time that you have with your colleague. If we're done with the pros and cons, so who should consider less than full-time training? So less than full-time training is a great option for anyone who needs flexibility for caring needs. So if you're taking care of children 18 years and below, I think, is it 18 or 16? I'll go into detail about the requirements when you're filling your eligibility screening form in the next video. I'm going to be sharing another video where I go into detail about the application process and the eligibility screening and all of that. So you should consider it if you've got children that you're caring for or a child, and it's going to be quite demanding combining that with residency training. You can consider it if you've got a spouse or a relative who is unwell and you're the primary carer, or if you've got health issues, both physical and mental health problems, if you've got other academic or professional commitments. But it's important to think through the long-term implications on your finances and your length of training when making this decision. I personally considered less than full-time training because I've got 2 young kids, and I understood that the demands of residency training will definitely impact on how present I am for them. They're really young. There's a lot that is involved in caring for children. That presence of mind. Of course, there are resident doctors who are able to combine full-time residency training with caring for children, especially if you've got support. So if you've got a nanny, a living nanny, for example, or if you've got your parents around, or if they're close by, if you've got relatives close by within the same city, if you've got a very good community, whether it's church community or community of friends who are also in similar boats with you, and you know how to rotate or share the care provided for your kids. There are so many other alternatives. So it's very, very specific to your personal circumstance. I understood my personal circumstance, and I knew that there was no way I'll be able to combine full-time training with caring for my children, especially with a spouse. My husband is also a doctor in training. So when I started working, he stepped down to less than full-time training because I wasn't going to be a full-time stay-at-home mom anymore. So it was essential for both of us to be less than full-time to be able to be present for the children in the absence of our parents and relatives, and a very robust community support with regards to childcare. So it's something you should give a thought to if you're in similar boats as I am, or you feel like you fit into the other categories that I mentioned earlier. The truth is that it's not a one size fits all. It might work for you, might not work for somebody else, and that's okay. I'm just glad that that option exists for trainees who think that they might benefit from it. So in my next video, I'll be going into detail about the options, the different forms of less than full-time training, what the application process entails, what it looks like, what you're looking out for, and if you wish to return to full-time training at any point in time, what that process also looks like, and how less than full-time training can impact on your salary, your working hours. We're discussing sample rotas and the whole 9 yards. So stick around for that video. If you got any suggestions about other topics that you would like me to cover on this channel, please let me know. See you next time.